Okay, this next video is going to be talking about people, blurbs, and calls to action. And those things might mean nothing to you now, but hopefully by the end of the video, I'll have some sort of explanation that makes a little bit more sense for you. So when you get to a page, you can click Enable Visual Builder. And a brief overview, people, blurbs, and calls to action in this video are going to be referred to because they are modules. So if you watched one of the first videos that I've made about Divi, there are sections, rows, and modules. See, this blue would be a section, the green would be a row, and the gray is a module. The sections can also be orange or purple, but that's beside the point for right now. So if you wanted to add, say, a Meet the Team page, you might go onto a new section or a new row, and let's say you have 3 people. So I'm going to do a 3-column row, and then the first thing I'm going to do is add a person. And as you can see, it has all of these details automatically in here. So what you can do is you can type in the person's name, their position at the company. If you want to share Facebook, Twitter, or other social media URLs, then you can do so. You'd copy and paste that here. This is where their bio goes. Maybe you don't want to include bios for now. You just delete that completely. If you want to add them, then you can type that in. You can also go to Visual, and this looks a little bit more like editing a Word document or an email, and you can bold or italicize or add bullet points as needed. Then you'll go down to image, and this is where you update the image of the person. If they are square images, you can change this here to under rounded corners to 100%, and it will make it a perfect circle, which is kind of cool. But if the images are not square, then it'll look like a weird oval, so I would leave that off, and you can undo that by hovering over here and clicking the back arrow. You can also add border styles to the image. For example, you may want to have a nice little black border around every picture. You can, again, round the corners, and you can just click and drag here, and you can see right up around here that that's what's happening. If you remove the border, then it's just the image that is rounded right there. And you can upload the image by clicking here, and then choosing the image of the person. And click upload an image. If the image is too small for the section, it won't fill the whole thing. So you have a couple of options. First off, you can go down to, you can go over to design, and then you can click on sizing, and you can okay, so sometimes if the image is too small, it won't fill this whole section, and that can be a bit frustrating. And so my first reaction or my first recommendation would be to go back to the content section under image and delete the image here and leave the other details. Click the green check mark, hover over this, click the gray plus, add an image, and then you'd find the image again. And as you can see here, it aligns it left. So that might look a little bit better. Or if you're making the whole thing centered, by going over to design, text, and center it like that, then the image will be in the wrong spot. It would be correct and small if you left it in the person module, but you can also go over here and align it center. Another thing you can do if the image is too small is ignore that, go to sizing, and say force full width. and then it will fill the column. But again, the reason that it wasn't showing it this large is because the image was pixelated. So that may not be a good idea. My ultimate recommendation is to have images that you upload if they're going to be in a 3-column structure or larger. Well, 3-column, you'll need them to be at least 300 pixels wide. For a 2-column structure, they'll probably need to be 600 to 800 pixels wide. And if they're going to be full width, which I also don't recommend putting a full width image of one person, but if you're going to do a full width image, have it be somewhere between 1200 and 1900 pixels wide. Okay, so let's go back to the person module. And you can also link this somewhere. So say, for example, this person has a bunch of projects, then you might have a project page just for them. You can link there. You can click on this little guy and say page link or project link, and then it will pull up all of your pages or projects to choose from. And then you can also add a background color, for example, to this whole thing, and then go design and spacing, and maybe you'll add 20 pixels of padding on all sides, and when you click on this link, it means that the left and right are the same, or the top and bottom are the same. Then you go up to the top, and since I have a darker background here, I would go to text and I would choose light. And then when I add the image back, let's see here. Then as you can see, the background goes around the entire module. Okay, so then you can duplicate this and drag them over and add your other staff members. And as you can see here, I don't have alt text on all of my images, which is a no-no. So normally I would put alt text here. All right. And then when you're done, you click save and you're all set. So also one other thing is when you make a person module in a row that's full width, it will put the image on the left and the text on the right. So that can sometimes be a helpful way to look at it as well. All right, now we're going to talk about blurbs. These are some of the most versatile modules in Divi whatsoever, so I will try to keep this brief. These here are blurbs, but then there are also other styles. So I'm going to, again, do just a 3-column style, add a blurb, and by default they come with an image, a title, and some text. You can also link them to something. The title link means the image and the title both link to something. If it's not on your website, make sure that you open the link in a new tab. If it is on your website, then you can leave it in the same window. So we'll go over to image and icon. If you don't want an image, then you can click the back button or the delete button. You click use icon if you want one. You don't need to have one, but you can. And then you can choose the icon from this little library that you want to use. And then let's just talk about styling the icon itself. You'll go to design, image and icon. You can change the color of the icon. You can make it appear in a circle. You could also have a border around the circle. Then you can place it to the left of the rest of the blurb. You can change how big it is. And then you can also do some of these things with the image. So if you go back to image and icon, uncheck use icon, and add an image, then the image automatically pops up like this. You can go over to design, to image and icon, and again you can put it to the top or the left. If you're going to do the left, then I recommend having the row not be so small. Fun fact, blurbs default to not fill the whole row. So you can go to design, to sizing, and then right now the content maxes out at 550 pixels. You can put 100% in there, and then it will fill whatever size of column it's in. Again, I don't like having an image be on the left, so I'm going to put it on the top. And then I'm going to change this row back to a 3-column structure. Now you can edit again, and you can change your title here, you can change the text here. Maybe you don't want any text, you just want a title underneath it, and then maybe you want to center the title. So you'll go under to design, to title text, and you center it right there. You can also center all of the text by going to text and centering it here. You can change whether it's dark or light here. You can add a text shadow. Those don't always look great, so that's just a side note. And then you can add a border around the entire blurb, which is what I did here. I also, down here, I added the same color as the border is the background. So if I were to repeat that, I might make the border black, go over to content, background, and click on black. And then I would go back to design, text, and change it to light. And then everything is white there. So that could be helpful. And then maybe I don't want to border around the outside. I can just click the back button. Then I still have the background. You go over to content, background, and you can delete that. You could also make it a gradient background. So there's a starting color and an ending color, and then you get to choose the direction of it. Maybe I want my starting color to be lighter. That way we can see it a little better. So we can change the direction of it. We can change where the starting color starts to fade, where it ends fading. If those are the same number, then it will be a stark line. You can also change how that looks. And then you can place it above a background image if you have one. So for example, if I had a background image, let's add one in here. And then you'd need to go back to the gradient and change these to not be fully opaque. So you turn them to be a little bit transparent. And then you go probably under content, you would remove the image, I'm guessing, and then go back to design, to spacing, and then you'd add some spacing there. And so you've got a cool effect there as well. So there's a lot that you can do with blurbs. As you can see, the options are pretty much endless, but if you have other questions about this, you can always reach out and I would be glad to help you. All right, lastly, we're going to talk about calls to action. They're similar to a blurb, but a call to action actually starts with a background color and some padding around it, and it does not have an image or icon. You can again change the background. You can say I don't want a background color. You can say I want the background color to be different. Just like I did here, you could give it a gradient and say you want it to actually be one color in the background. You can change that to be the same on both and then place it above the background image and put the background image like so. And then it looks like there's one nice little overlay over that image. even though it's a gradient going from one thing to the other, we just made it the same thing so it doesn't change. And that's a nice way to add that cool effect. Besides that, calls to action have a button that shows up. So normally if you put a link in here, then it will show up right there, the button will. And you can change what the button looks like by going over to Design and then Button and saying Custom Button Styles. You can change the size of the text. You can change the text color. Maybe we want the color to be this dark blue and then we want the background of it to be white. Maybe we don't want there to be a border, so you make the border width 0. Right now it's got rounded edges. I'm going to take that off. So the radius right here is the rounded edges. I'm going to take that to 0. See, they're fully square now. You can make the letters space out. You can change the font. It will show the recent fonts that you've used on your site. Using default is probably best for most websites, as we specifically designed your website to have 1 or 2 fonts and they're consistent throughout. Then you can change the font weight, so you want it to be bold, you can do that here. You can make it all caps. You can italicize. And then right now by default when you hover over it, it has that icon. But you can change what icon it is. Or you can also change whether or not the icon is to the left or right of the text. You can remove the icon from only showing on hover, so now it shows all the time. You can remove it altogether, so now it doesn't ever show. And you can change the color of the icon to be different. So there are a lot of things you can do with that. The button itself can align left or right or in the middle. Again, there's shadow options. And then what else do we have here? The button can have a gradient background actually, which is kind of nifty. So there are a lot of options. Oh, also padding. So you can add more padding around the button. Right now it's not working for some reason, but there's that. And then you can add a shadow behind it. So lots of things that you can do with the button. And I'm going to delete that. There we go. Oh, next up, you can also change what it's like when you hover over it. So when you hover over a different option like this, see how these little icons show up? I can choose the mouse, which means on hover. So especially for the background and the text color, we like to change this. So you can click to that and choose hover. So now when you're hovering over, maybe the background color changes, and then when you're hovering over, the text might change to white. So now if you click the check mark, then when you hover over it, it's supposed to change properly, and it didn't. The background color on hover is supposed to be blue. So I don't know why it didn't do that. But if you come into issues like that, you can always let me know. It might be as simple as an update. Let's change that like that for now. Okay, so for now, the color wasn't working, but anyway, normally it would work. And yeah, so those are a lot of options that you can do with the person module, the blurb module, or the call to action module. And if you have questions, which I'm sure you might, then you can always let me know. And again, when you come across things like this, you may click the setting and then you don't know what the settings are. You can always check up here to blurb or call to action. It will show the title here of what it is, and then you can filter to modified styles to see what has been changed. So right now this one has a white background color. The heading is an H3. It's all caps. You can undo these things right here. And then you can go through and change just the things that had already been changed versus going through and trying to find all the different settings. You can discard the changes by clicking the red X. And then another thing is you may change the settings on a particular blurb or call to action or other module, and you may actually want to use that for others. So say I get another blurb and it's just like this, and I go, well, wow, I had so many settings that I changed on this one to get it to look like this. You can right click on it and say copy module styles, and you can right click on the other one and say paste module styles. And then if you go in here and go to image and icon and delete that and go to text and delete that, then they look the same. You can also just copy it with the duplicate button, but sometimes if you have them already in existence, for example, if I were to change a lot on this one and I wanted the rest of them to look like it, then I could copy those module styles. It might change some of the background images and things like that, which you'd have to remember which one you had on each and fix it, but that might save you some time. All right, that was a lot of information and I hope that it's helpful. Have a great day.